Someone manipulated you this week. You just didn't notice. And that's what makes it dangerous. Manipulation today isn't loud. It doesn't show up wearing a villain's cape. It's subtle, polite, soft-spoken, and perfectly disguised as normal human behavior. It sounds like a friendly suggestion, an innocent compliment, a harmless question. But beneath that surface, there's always a direction, a motive, a push, a guiding hand that slowly turns your decisions into someone else's desired outcome. Machiavelli warned us centuries ago that the most effective forms of control are the ones that feel natural, the ones that slip into your mind gently, with no need for force. Because real influence doesn't require domination. It requires understanding. Think about it. People today don't try to control your body. They try to shape your beliefs, your emotions, your instincts, your reactions, not by attacking them, but by quietly nudging them. And here's the unsettling truth. Most of the manipulation you encounter comes not from villains, but from ordinary people who don't realize they're doing it. Manipulation has become woven into the instinctive fabric of human interaction. Everyone uses it. Everyone responds to it. Everyone is vulnerable to it, unless they learn to see it. So today, we're breaking down the 9 manipulation tactics people use on you daily. The ones buried beneath conversations, emotions, and social expectations. Learn the mechanics behind them, and you stop being influenced. Master them, and you gain the kind of psychological clarity that makes you immune to subtle control. Let's begin. This is one of the oldest manipulation techniques, and also one of the most invisible. The false choice trap works by giving you options that look different, but ultimately lead to the exact same outcome. The manipulator doesn't ask the real question. They hide it behind 2 or more artificial choices. Example, do you want to meet at 5 or 6? Not, do you want to meet at all? Another example, should we sign the contract today or tomorrow? Not, do you actually want this contract? The real freedom is removed, but it's removed so smoothly that you never notice. People fall for this because humans love having choices. Choice feels like freedom. Choice feels like control. But this isn't freedom. This is a controlled illusion. The manipulator wants one outcome and gives you options that all steer you back to it. It's like choosing between 2 doors that both lead into the same room. Machiavelli understood this intimately. He believed that a wise leader should offer people the feeling of autonomy. Because when people believe they're choosing, they lower their guard. They stop resisting. They stop thinking critically. The false choice trap isn't dangerous because it forces you. It's dangerous because it makes you believe you weren't forced at all. Here's how you break it. Reject the presented options. Go back to the root. Ask yourself, what is the real decision being made here? Once you see the trap, you step out of it instantly. Humans don't make decisions logically, not even close. We like to believe we're rational thinkers, that our choices come from calm analysis or clear reasoning. But the truth is darker. We decide emotionally and then use logic to justify the decision afterward. This is why emotional priming is so powerful. Before someone asks you for something, before they need your agreement, before they want your compliance, they shift your emotional state. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unconsciously, but always effectively. A manipulator will set the mood before setting the direction. Examples: a compliment softens resistance, a sad story sparks sympathy, a guilty sigh makes you feel responsible, a dramatic pause builds tension, a frustrated tone makes you want to fix things. These emotional cues prep your brain, like warming up clay before shaping it. Machiavelli hinted at this principle centuries ago. He wrote that people respond more strongly to the emotions of a situation than the facts of it. That's why skilled manipulators aim for your state, not your logic. When someone shifts your emotional temperature, your decision-making center shifts with it. This is why emotional priming works so well. When you feel intensely, you stop questioning the source of the feeling. To break it, notice your emotional spikes. Ask, did this emotion begin naturally, or did someone create it? If your feeling changes right before a request, you're being primed, and once you see it, you can't be controlled by it. Humans are wired for reciprocity. If someone does something for us, our instincts push us to balance the scale. It's an ancient survival mechanism. Tribes survived because cooperation was rewarded with cooperation. Kindness was matched with kindness. Support was exchanged to maintain group stability. But in modern society, this instinct is weaponized. Someone gives you a small favor, not out of kindness, but as a seed of obligation. A tiny gift, a bit of help, a quick gesture, a small discount, a thoughtful act. And now your instincts whisper, you owe them, not because you want to, but because you feel it. Deep in your psychology, most people who do this don't even realize they're manipulating. It's human nature. But skilled manipulators, they do it deliberately, strategically, efficiently. Machiavelli wrote that generosity is only useful when it increases loyalty, influence, and dependence. In other words, give only when it strengthens your position. And modern manipulators follow that rule perfectly. They use kindness as currency, as leverage, as a silent psychological hook. This doesn't mean kindness is always manipulation, but when a manipulator gives, there is always a return expected. They don't give to help. They give to own a small part of your decision-making. The antidote? Ask one question. Did I want this, or did they decide I needed it? If the answer is they decided, you're being pulled into a web of subtle obligation. Stop the web early, and you stay in control. Humans fear isolation more than failure. From the moment we're born, our nervous system learns one rule. Belonging equals safety. Exclusion equals danger. This instinct once protected us from being cast out of the tribe. Today, it's exploited. Social proof manipulation works by making you feel that everyone else already agrees, supports, or participates. And once you believe that, your resistance collapses. You hear phrases like, everyone's doing it. Most people agree. You're the only one who thinks differently. This is just how things are done. These statements don't attack your logic. They attack your identity, because disagreement suddenly feels like alienation. Machiavelli understood that crowds are powerful not because they're wise, but because they create pressure. People will abandon their own judgment to avoid standing alone. Social proof doesn't need real numbers. It only needs perceived consensus. One confident voice claiming authority can outweigh 1,000 silent doubts. This is why influencers manipulate engagement. Why brands highlight best-selling labels. Why leaders reference unnamed supporters. When you believe the majority has decided, you stop deciding for yourself. And here's the cruel part. Once people follow the crowd, they convince themselves it was their idea. That's how social proof creates self-reinforcing obedience. To break it, ask this: who exactly is everyone? If no one can answer clearly, the consensus is artificial. Truth doesn't require numbers, manipulation does. Guilt is one of the most powerful emotional levers in human psychology. Not because it hurts loudly, but because it corrodes quietly. Guilt makes you doubt your morality. It reframes resistance as selfishness. It transforms boundaries into betrayal. And manipulators know this. They don't demand. They suggest disappointment. They say things like, "I just thought you'd care more. I wouldn't do this to you. I guess I expected better. After everything I've done for you." Notice something. None of these are requests. They're emotional accusations. Machiavelli warned that people are easier to control through moral pressure than physical force. Because when someone feels guilty, they police themselves. They surrender, not to you, but to their own conscience. Guilt-based manipulation works especially well on good people, empathetic people, responsible people, people who value loyalty and fairness. The manipulator frames their desire as your obligation. And once you accept that framing, you stop asking whether the request is fair. You comply to relieve discomfort, not because the action makes sense. Over time, this rewires behavior. You stop saying no. You preemptively accommodate. You begin anticipating emotional backlash. That's when control becomes internalized. The antidote is brutal clarity. Guilt does not equal responsibility. Discomfort does not equal wrongdoing. Ask yourself, would this request still be reasonable if guilt wasn't involved? If the answer is no, you're being emotionally coerced. Confusion is not weakness. It's a weapon. Strategic confusion works by overwhelming your mind with information, contradictions, or complexity, until you stop thinking critically. When clarity disappears, authority takes its place. This tactic appears everywhere: in politics, in contracts, in corporate language, in emotionally charged conversations. People use long explanations, vague terminology, circular logic, contradictory statements, not to inform, but to exhaust. Machiavelli understood that clarity empowers people. Confusion pacifies them. When people are confused, they do three things: they defer, they submit, they seek guidance, and manipulators are always ready to guide. This tactic often sounds intelligent: complex words, abstract reasoning, overanalysis. But intelligence that obscures rather than clarifies is domination disguised as sophistication. The moment you feel mentally tired mid-conversation, your critical filters weaken. You stop asking hard questions. You accept incomplete explanations. You trust the confident voice. That's when the manipulator steps in and simplifies the conclusion for you, not to help you, but to decide for you. To counter strategic confusion, do the opposite. Slow the conversation. Demand clarity. Ask them to summarize in plain language. Confusion collapses under simplicity. If something cannot be explained clearly, it is either poorly understood or intentionally obscured. Human beings are wired to seek acknowledgement, a nod, a response, a signal that we are seen. Withholding validation exploits this need. Instead of attacking you, the manipulator removes feedback entirely. They go silent. They become emotionally neutral. They stop reacting. No praise, no criticism, no clarity, just absence. This creates psychological starvation. Your mind begins filling the silence with questions. Did I do something wrong? Are they upset? Did I misread everything? The lack of response becomes louder than any argument ever could. Machiavelli understood that uncertainty destabilizes people faster than punishment. Because when feedback disappears, you turn inward. And when you turn inward under stress, you blame yourself. This tactic is especially effective on high performers, people who care about outcomes, people who seek alignment, people who want harmony. They start overcorrecting, trying harder, explaining more, apologizing unnecessarily, all to restore equilibrium. That's when the manipulator regains control, because the one who controls emotional supply controls the relationship. Silence is not always maturity. Distance is not always self-control. Sometimes it's leverage. To counter this, stop chasing emotional closure. Mirror neutrality. Remove urgency. The moment validation is no longer scarce, the tactic collapses. Urgency bypasses reason. When time feels scarce, your brain switches from analysis to survival mode. This is why manipulators create artificial deadlines. Decide now. This won't last. Last chance. If you don't act, you'll regret it. These statements don't inform. They alarm. Machiavelli knew that rushed decisions favor the one who sets the pace, because speed favors confidence, not correctness. False urgency removes your ability to verify. No research, no reflection, no second opinion, just pressure. And under pressure, people default to authority. They comply to avoid loss. But here's the truth. If something is genuinely valuable, it survives scrutiny. Urgency that forbids thinking is not opportunity. It's manipulation. The moment someone pushes you to decide faster than your comfort allows, they are no longer acting in your interest. To dismantle false urgency, slow down, pause deliberately. Say, I don't make decisions under pressure. Watch how quickly the situation changes. Real opportunities wait. Manipulation panics. This is one of the most dangerous tactics, because it turns self-respect into perceived aggression. You say no. They say you're difficult. You set a boundary. They say you're selfish. You protect your time. They say you've changed. This tactic reframes self-preservation as moral failure. Machiavelli observed that power survives by redefining threats, and boundaries threaten access, so manipulators reinterpret your restraint as hostility. Once this frame is accepted, you are trapped. Defend your boundary, and you confirm their accusation. Stay silent, and they keep pushing. Over time, people abandon boundaries just to avoid being labeled the villain. That's the trap. Healthy people respect limits. Manipulative people resent them. Your boundaries do not require approval. They require enforcement. The moment you stop explaining yourself, the manipulation loses oxygen. Silence paired with consistency is unbreakable. These tactics are rarely used alone. They are layered, stacked, blended. A little guilt, a little urgency, a little silence. Until one day, you're not choosing anymore. You're reacting. And that's where most people live. Inside systems they never consciously agreed to. By now, something subtle should be happening. Not fear, not paranoia, awareness. You're starting to replay moments from your life. Conversations that felt off, decisions you rushed, pressure you accepted without questioning. That discomfort isn't confusion. It's clarity arriving late. Because manipulation never announces itself. It disguises itself as reason, as concern, as urgency, as authority. And that's why it works. Most people believe manipulation is obvious, aggressive, forceful, intentional. But Machiavelli understood something far darker. The most effective manipulation feels normal. It blends into everyday interactions. It hides inside politeness. It survives through repetition. You weren't weak for missing it. You were human. Manipulation succeeds not because people are stupid, but because they are emotional before they are analytical. And emotions move faster than thought. Here is the truth beneath every tactic you've learned. Manipulation does not target intelligence. It targets reaction. Guilt works only if you rush to fix discomfort. Urgency works only if you fear delay. Authority works only if you doubt yourself. Silence works only if you crave approval. The manipulator is not powerful. Your automatic response is. Machiavelli warned that control is never seized by force alone. It is invited by unchecked instinct. The goal is not to dominate others. It is to become unmovable. When urgency no longer rushes you, when guilt no longer bends you, when authority no longer silences you, manipulation fades. Not because you fight it, but because it finds nothing to attach to. Power fails when it cannot provoke reaction. If this video changed how you listen, how you pause, how you decide, then manipulation already lost. Welcome to awareness. Welcome to composure. Welcome to the dark psyche, the mind that cannot be rushed, cannot be ruled.